or just do you see the full size screen or just a
Yes.
percent screen?
Yes, we can see the full-size screen. Perfect.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, everybody. Let me just say okay to that. Okay, there we go. Thank you for participating as always of our update webinar. I'm showing on purpose a picture of what has been our last and the first demo day in a while that we did in earlier this month in Nebraska. We hope we'll have several more in the upcoming months. It was a great event, and it allowed us to share some of the things that we're sharing today as well. I don't know, some of the news, but firsthand and be part and show, I don't know, firsthand what we have been doing, what we have been up to. Um, so yeah, that was a great event. I guess we're gonna go always with the same structure. Um, what's new in our latest update, which was just yesterday, and what's in store after that for the following update and for the following weeks. There's something that Ryan might share about that, one new thing that we're putting in place, and then we open for questions and feedback. So about this last update, so some of the updates that we do they're more like we need a lot of new features. Some others are more I don't know, refining stuff or fixing stuff that we have been launching recently, like because we have such an aggressive schedule of launches. Sometimes we just make mistakes and we need to fix. And there's always like we don't always tell you. There's always some degree of fixes. I'm just showing them some of them today, just for you to have an idea that whenever we do like a lighter update, it is also because we are doing many other stuff like more on the fixing side. So there's been like I would say four main things in this last update. One is that we adapted the new yard sheet that we launched last month, to more of the website, the desktop version of the yard sheet. I mean the yard sheet as the operational yard sheet screen, not the yard sheet report. Um, we also fixed some things in the on the charts that we did some mistakes. Then we also made several improvements that we absorbed from feedback recently with regards to the shoot live screen. Um, we received like we have been working on this for a while, and we have been receiving a lot of feedback on this could be easier, this could be more flexible. So all what is more what you see is what you're gonna see like changed now. Um, and there will be a little bit more of improvements on the previous steps of the shoot, more in the programming of every session. So it is kind of like quicker, less steps. And that is something that as we move forward with more things, sometimes we need to go, I don't know, give a couple of steps back to make the less clicks possible, if you know what I mean. Then we had another, it's a minor thing, but not that minor. In the whenever people are connected to the micro ingredients, there's a little change that I'll tell you a little bit more about. And then there's another issue for all the people that are, or change for all the people that are working in the feed truck connected directly to the load cell. There we so far we were using like just one digit for the last number, like digit of the number of the scale values, and for some people that is kind of annoying. So we did a setting so they can just pick how many digits they want to round it. We had some other fixes here and there, like I don't know, some snack bar error messages when you're offline that were repeating and bothering. So it's a little bit of optimization or refining that we have been doing, and we will continue to do. Let me show you some of this stuff. On the yard sheet improvements, I don't know, we put the same structure in the web version and the tablet version that we had in the mobile version, in the cell phone version, with the same with those shortcut buttons. We already discovered that we might have a couple of one bug or two on the black buttons there, but we're gonna fix them quickly. So there's some degree of like changes in proportions and font sizes so that you can just, I don't know, go through it on a more comfortable way. We also made the adaptation for the web version and some fixes on the charts, because I don't know, we've been doing like back and forth a couple of experiments there, and they weren't working. So now if you're having especially when you're having like split rations, you should be able to see it better. I don't know how better the scale axis on the left is the amount of dry matter per head in this case, and on the right you have the animal weight for that curve. Then on the shoot processor improvement side, there's been several improvements, like for instance that icon, we made improvements in the icon to add the temperature. We added the possibility to add a note. We improved a little bit the treatment side, that you can, so regardless of what and this is very important, regardless of what you have already picked as a protocol to apply, you can add other products, or if you or you can either edit it and erase one of the products. So it's kind of more flexible. We increase the size of the buttons of the retry and manual buttons. We increase the size of the buttons that go further and before in the animals, so it's kind of like less populated, and it's kind of more clear on, I don't know, this is next animal. So there's several like, I don't know, little tweaks and flexibilities here and there that should make these more practical. There's also the fact that in order to, we increase the size of certain buttons on the individual ID, so you can just press not only in change but also in the whole button. And also there's the fact that if you happen to be delayed and with passing into the next animal and you get a new weight, it won't run over your previous weight, which is an important thing that we saw that it happened to a couple of farmers where, I don't know, they would just get distracted while they're processing cattle, and then they knew the new weight of the new animal went over the previous animal when they hadn't yet passed into the next animal, if it makes sense. So there's a lot of nuances here that should make all this process a little bit smoother. So this is about the setting that I told you on the people that are connected to the load cell. So whenever you're not connected to the scale head, but you're straight going to the load cell, there's some things that are different because you're more like our little box is acting like a scale itself. So there's some degree of calibration there. And also, you're not receiving the data as the scale head is giving it to you, but we are forming the data, or the scale is forming the data. So what we have done is adding I don't know, because we have been requested this for a while, a rounding criteria, because some people like to work on like up to the last digit, and there's people that just want the last one to be zero. I don't know if you're working in pounds, sometimes like, you know, the degree of the resolution, it doesn't make sense to have just one digit. So that's a little thing, but it's, I don't know, people do this every day. So they look at it and they remember every time. So on the other one, I don't have a screen here, but this about the micro ingredients connect interface. We have seen some of the people that are working in connection with the AHI micro machines. In when we did an improvement on the ability to go and feed and load other ingredients while the machine is preparing. We open for a certain situation where farmer or the driver would forget to press on the ingredient on the micro ingredient that he's working on, that he's preparing. So that amount of feed of micro ingredient would be assigned to other ingredients. So what we did was just make it forced, so that if you're preparing or discharging a micro ingredient, it will automatically fix in that ingredient within the black screen or white screen of the operational screen of when you're loading and dropping. So in that way, we reduce the likelihood of those kind of mistakes. So as I said, there were some other fixes. Some of them remain outside, and we know that there's still things to be solved, and we go adding those fixes along the way, and the same as features. As what we have in store for the next updates. So I'm just going to paste the last, so the last webinar's slide into the following updates. And this is what we did. This is what we pasted last like we defined last month. Among all the list, so the shoot was part of what we already did. We're going to continue to do, as I said, improvements on the shoot side, but also there's much more that we have an agenda. We're going to focus now. Well, we're already focusing this month and next month in what's going to be hopefully launched early next month, is basically the advanced feeding features and the account management features. And this is a big thing for us, and hopefully for the farmers as well, for the producers as well. Just the fact that we are giving much more power and flexibility to and programming ability to many operations that require this. One way to summarize this is, so far in the feeding side, so far our feeding works like this. You have a ration, you have a delivery plan, and you have a load and drop. And you have your load plan that you may use or not. When you are, the first thing that you do typically is create your ration. Then manually you assign, in the delivery plan, you assign those rations to different pens, regardless in different ways. And then you manually create load and drop orders. So that works for many people and works for operations up to a certain level of complexity. But whenever you begin to have, or even if you're used to, I don't know, other softwares where they have more the planning, you find yourself doing a lot of manual stuff even within the app. So it's I don't know, our current status of the feeding packages. It's, of course, it's repetitive in terms of it just repeating until you change something. From the lot, you only took the count and the weight. The lot plan is incomplete in the sense we are just projecting some fundamental variables, but we don't have anything so far deployed with more of the feeding plan. So what we are about to launch is putting in between the stages, the steps, much more to it. So so one of the things very important is that we create the concept of the feeding protocol, which is depending on what is the cattle type, and that's another concept that we're bringing in. So far, we just had like the gender, like we didn't have cattle type as you were talking about. I don't know, like long yearling heifer or long year or I don't know, short yearling steer or calf. We like you will be able to predefine feeding protocols with a predefined feeding schedule, a predefined step up pattern for the rations, like how you're going to do the splits, and alerts that are actionable in the sense that the system will change in between rations for you if you have it programmed there. So for any given, and then you have the lot feeding plan. You have today the lot plan, but you will have now the lot feeding plan. We have hinted about this a couple some months ago, but it was still in the works. So for any given feeding protocol, you can apply that to the feeding plan, to your lot feeding plan, and then it will go and change the rations for you. And then of course you can always like stop it or just postpone it and a day, for instance, like a snooze button. But it gives you an automated way to define all your delivery plans automatically, regardless of I don't know, in how many pens you have divided every lot. And then from the delivery plan into the load and drop, you can also automatically with a magic button we call auto generate load. You can either create new loads outright, or you can feed changes of delivery plans that you might have done automatically or manually into the existing load and drop orders, or just create new ones when you don't have them. So this is big for us, and this is one of the things that we think that it will help a lot of people, because it will this is still a cloud-based app. It still has the same look and feel that you have always with Cadler, but it will give you much more power. Another, of course, impact of this is that so far some of the metrics analytics that we have are on a pen basis, especially in the yard sheet. So some of the charts, when we're talking about the pen basis, they're just looking at what's in there, and they're not carrying along with the lot. So there will be with the new bank score improvements that we're also about to launch, you will be able to see I don't know, if a certain lot moved all the way from one pen to the other, you will see in the new pen all the history of that lot, as long as it's not like shared lots for the same pen where we need to arbitrage a little bit. So how does this look? We're gonna add this feeding protocol subsection into the feeding section, pretty much like the ration management, but instead of rations, you will see protocols. You can create a new protocol. When you open the protocol, you can assign the cattle type. So then you can also automate that step of adding a protocol to a lot that you have defined as a certain cattle type. And then you can just do different mixings of days, how many days on this ration If you're gonna do splits, you will do it in percentage time. So this gains a little bit more scale, if you notice it. And then you can always change it on the delivery plan the same way you do it today manually, because there's a lot of exceptions in real life. But this gives you a head start in how to set up this thing in a more scalable way. It will also give you like a hint of what the cost per head per day for every one of these protocols. So then when you finish the protocol, I don't know, you might have them stored. You go to the lot plan, and that's where you apply. If you see there's a menu on the right now that it says feeding protocol, and then you can it will just copy that one protocol, and then if you want, if you want, you can edit it and change something on the days, on anything that is there. So just recapping, this is one of the big things that are coming. We're probably going to deploy them in, I don't know, 1, 2, or 3 updates, depending on how we can isolate these different sub packages. But in the very next one, we will have part of this. The other big thing that we are working on recently is all the, some people call it accounts receivable, but it's more of the administration side of things. So far, we have like a minimum version. You have seen the billing button that is on the cattle management section. We'll leave the button there, but we'll probably have this administration section that today is just the vendors records. We'll give it much more power. First and initially with this billing and accounts, especially for people that are custom feeders, you will be able to track all the invoices that you have in emitting, and have like a notion of whether they're paid and unpaid. So of course you now can add payments, and that's how you will have like that information, piece of information. And then the next step after this is connecting this to QuickBooks, for instance. So the addition of the payments will be also automatic. But this is like the intermediary step. So this is one of the subsections on billing and account subsection of administration. And the other one is account management, where you will have all your accounts. You will be able to, you have some information on each one of those. You can create a new account, and then you can click on each one and I don't know, and do different things like, I don't know, create a new invoice for this guy, add a new payment for this guy. So things that are pertaining to this specific customer. And you have some information about I don't know, the status of those accounts in general. So this is a big thing. Right after that, not today, but I'm going to present what we call the advanced supply management, where this subsection purchase and procurement takes place. In the meantime, we're going to add these reports to together with the account management section. So account statements. So there's people that work differently within the invoices. We've seen, of course, other softwares where they send you some of the analytics on the same invoice. We prefer to keep it separate. So an account statement is a document that you will add attach to a invoice if you want, of course, with all the activity and balance, because he might have, like, I don't know, payments delayed or something. So you give them the invoice for the month or for the 15 days period, and then you give them also their statement with all the money that they're perhaps owing So the numbers make sense. Also, there's another report that will give you a little bit of more detail on how you get to those invoices. What are the concepts that are being charged? That if we just put them all in one document, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's super long. So we just try and put this information in cascade in different documents that are well, I don't know the word for this, but yeah, like in added one to the other. So we will, oh, that is a mistake. So in the invoice side, we will add a little bit. So we're doing two things on the invoice side. And let me just a second that I'm correcting this mistake here. There we go. In the invoice side, we are unifying. So today, when you're doing an invoice by owner, is like you have like a certain layout, which is not really convenient. And when you do it by lot, you have something more similar to what you have here with a little bit more detail. So we're gonna unify those two. You will have an option to put less or more information, but the format will be the same. And the only thing we're gonna add is this performance metrics that comes out of the closeout for this lot. It will come whenever you have a by lot basis. Otherwise, if it's there are many different lots, and we're still deciding on whether we add the performance metrics for every period charge, or we just put all the charges all together. So we like these are very minor changes that you still can have time to let us know if you guys prefer one thing or the other.
Ignacio, one question.
Yes.
There's a question in the chat. If you want to look at it,
Yes, let me.
I can read it to you if you need it.
So, what about prepaid feed for tax reasons? So that should appear as a credit here in the account statement. So if they prepaid feed, that appears on the left side an account statement as a credit. If they added feed, that is Greenbank, and we have that covered as well already. I don't know if it makes sense, if it answers your question.
Nothing else on the chat so far. I'll let you.
We are also taking the chance to improve a little bit both the yard sheet and the livestock inventory reports. In the livestock inventory reports, we are putting a little bit more information on the purchase price, on the cost of gain, on the break even, and the shipping date in case you have established one, so that this document is easier to take into the bank, basically, because this is the main reason why people are using the livestock inventory, is for, I don't know, loan purposes or financial purposes, and even for their own, I don't know, administrative purposes, accountability. So, and we have been discussing with some of the VDRs, and we came up with this. So these are like some added columns. The other improvements on the yard sheet, it's a report, and we probably will have to change the name of the yard sheet section just to differentiate from the yard sheet report, where you will have more now, well, the cattle type in terms of how each operation calls a cattle type, long yearlings, steers, all these kind of things. More information on the ration, on the intake, and the break even. So we haven't been able to find 5 people or 10 people that do it that refer this yard sheet report in the same way. So we're just trying to get to the best possible average and distribute all these demands in between these two reports. So that should be something that you will see changes in the following weeks. If we have to summarize it, many of the things that you're seeing as new will be part of what we call the Feeder Pro license, which is a different superior license to the Feeder license. But you will be able to contract that on a standalone basis, feature by feature, in the same way that we are doing now with the GrainBank. Like even if you're in Feeder, so we haven't launched Feeder Pro, but even if you're in Feeder, you can contract, subscribe to GrainBank on a standalone basis if you don't want all the rest of the stuff. Same thing for compounding, like the advanced interest, which is one of the things that we have recently launched. So, but this is just to give you an idea of the map of the things that we are working on. There will be, as I said before, all this other things we're gonna do right after these things. We're gonna go after big changes in animal health, so that we can give like more sophistication to the protocols, which there are barely more than cocktails with dosages. We will try to do to put less steps. We're gonna try to do less steps on the feeding side, just because of, I don't know, some people that were used to other software on the feeding side. There's like a lot of things here and there that we can try to simplify. Less clicks is something that less clicks, less less reloading is something that when you have, I don't know, not great internet, are very appreciated by people in terms of speed and reliability, to that is not going to refresh the page when you're just on the track. So, and then of course what I was hinting about, the supply, like more advanced supply management, and the kind of ability to connect to other software. So there will be more Elanco metrics for the ones that are into the Elanco benchmark program. They will be launching the first Kauka features in the second semester. So there's a pretty intense schedule for the rest of the year. That's it for today. So I would like to open for questions. Whatever you want to ask about this, or about other things. You can unmute yourself if you want, or just write on the chat. Okay. I think it sounds like it's all very clear, I hope.
Ignacio, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes. Andy,
It's Andy from M Farms.
how's it going?
Good. How are you, sir?
Fine. Thank you for being part today.
Yes, sir. Are we getting closer to where if you underfeed or overfeed in the morning,
Yes.
will it roll
That
over
is,
your
yes. Sorry that I didn't mention that. That is part of what the advanced feeding package is you will have a setting where you will pick if you want automatically to compensate underfeeding on the morning, and like it's not the morning properly, it's the previous drop.
right?
So if like in the settings section, you will pick that for the whole feed yard as a general criteria. So, and if you leave that on, you will automatically, we will adjust the second or the third, the remaining drops on an average basis with the part that wasn't delivered in the first drop, if it makes sense.
Okay. Yep.
Yes, thank you for the comment, because that was something that was involved and I didn't include it.
Okay. No, I appreciate it. My other deal,
Yep, go ahead.
when you move cattle out of your receiving pens, is that feed going to follow them cattle then to a new pen?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I did mention, is
Okay.
that because like the reason for this is because there's already a plan in place. It is easier for us, as long as you're not mixing many lots, meaning different lots all the time in one pen, where we need to make some decisions on that. So then in that case, it is easier for us to just, and whatever that lot piece of lot is, just make the delivery plan assignment follows that lot.
Yes.
So
Correct.
there's some situations where you need to arbitrage on that, because there's people that mix different lots in the same pen. So we need
Right.
to find a way to make a decision on that. But in other cases, or most of the cases where people, they're not doing so, or they're just moving the whole lot to another pen, like the feed will follow the lot.
Very good. Thank you.
No, I appreciate the question, because these are some things that some people sometimes wonder, and if we don't mention them, I don't they will never know. And yeah, so it's like that's like these two reasons are reasons why this is big for us.
Right.
I think so far we were in a, let's call it, paradigm, in a world where things were more on a daily basis, and we are more moving now into a more planned and structured basis, all the way from a lot perspective.
Very good.
I have another, yeah.
My other question is on the animal health side. Is there a way a guy can go in? You got your protocol set up, but sometimes you need to take something away off your protocol or add more CCs to one. Is there a possible way you could hit that button so you could add or subtract?
Yeah,
CC
so
add
you-
to.
yeah, so the first step of that is the change that we just implemented in this update for the shoot side, where regardless of what you had, what you have programmed for this lot or group of animals, you can just add more stuff or not do some stuff, or just take out of the way a certain product and call another product right there.
Okay.
The next step will be doing so on the individual animal profile, where you can also, not only that, but also the things that we have, that I remember now that we have discussing, on the ability to add temperature to a certain given animal, so more
Right.
flexibility on that side. So
Yep.
we had to make some decisions on, I don't know how much to include for this, and as we were already working on the shoot side, we added this feature there, and the next thing will be added in the pen writer side of the app.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Colby is asking if the advanced feeding costs extra. Yes, it will cost extra. There's a lot of effort. There's a different level of features here. It will be part of a different license, which we call the License Pro, and it will probably cost $300 per month. But you will also be able, even if you're not in that license, because it includes that and other stuff, you will be able, starting from where you are today in the feeder license, you will be able to to have it subscribe to that specific feature on a standalone basis. So it's not going to be that whole difference. We're gonna provide, as we get closer to launch this other one, we should have done it already, because we have the grain bank and we have the advanced interest already in place. So we provide like probably in the web some of the add-ons prices when you pay them for like on a standalone basis. Of course, the marginal cost is gonna be lower than what you're paying today, but it's still there's a lot of effort put into this. Yes. Okay. Let me pass the baton um to Ryan. I think Ryan wanted to show something on one of the things that we are implementing or putting in place these days. I don't know if you want Ryan to share your screen.
Sure, I'm actually gonna ask you if you can just go into, because I'm sharing for everything here, for everybody here. But ultimately, what we're going to be launching as of the 1st of July, I sent you a link that has the just the overall terms. But we're going to be launching a competition, internal competition. It's just everybody says that they are, they are the best loader or dropper or overall. So now we're gonna try and make that into a competition for everybody to be able to kind of compete to see who's actually the best. So the goal here is that we will be taking the best 30 drops that you make in a month and tying that in with your deltas to be able to see who's actually the best. And with that, you'll be able to win prizes for the month, but then also be able to compete for the yearly end of year prize as well. So the idea here is to, in a way, kind of make it a little bit more interesting for everybody to see how well they actually feed and be able to ultimately have some friendly competition between everybody. If you want to share the graph or the picture you were showing, not sure.
Can you see that?
No, I think we're looking at the orange screen right now. There we go. So this will be in your alert section as of tomorrow, and there is an opt-out option as well. So if you don't want to compete or be what it is, it's all good. There's an opt-out button for tomorrow or whenever you want throughout the month. So the idea is we're going to start to do this over and over. The idea, as we said, just make it a little more interesting and actually see who is the best feeder on Cattler, best loader, best feeder, and then best overall. That's about it. Nothing more.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's a little bit of a game because at the end it doesn't change any fact, but I think it's fun and interesting. That we will also let you know about the criteria that we are using for this. But it's more like a game than any other thing. So that's a very good idea that the guys came up with.
It's going to be in the terms and conditions and the link. If you click there, if you want to opt out, it'll be there. So that's about it on our end. But we hope as many people decide to stay on so that we can actually see who's the best feeder on Cattler. So as of July 1st, everybody buckle up.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you everybody for showing up. We will let this video recorded on YouTube in case you want to share it with anybody. And we look forward to the next webinar and the next events where we always take the pleasure to meet with the producers. Thank you very much.